The Federal Reserve has been talking about using Ripple's technology since 2014. And in this video, I want to share with you a document specifically from the Federal Reserve outlining why Ripple is going to be a long-term winner. As I believe this video is really going to open your eyes to how baked in a lot of these fundamental transformations really are to our financial system, and hopefully show you that the largest players in the entire world know exactly what's going on and where Ripple and XRP fit into the equation. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe to the channel. These two things really do mean so much. Also, if you ever need a place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. Guys, as stated in this video, we're going to be going over a Federal Reserve document from 2014 that specifically name drops Ripple multiple times and gives us some very interesting insight to why Ripple and XRP are going to be long-term winners in the cryptocurrency space. And guys, I need to give this attention. This was actually brought to me by Taylor. He's one of the supporters of the channel. He's always on the live stream, so massive shout out to him. And the other thing is after watching this video, you become incredibly bullish on Ripple, the company. Well, make sure to check out the mastermind group. That will allow you to invest in Ripple private equity, even if you're not an accredited investor. If you want to know more about that, the link in the description will cover that. It will be the mastermind group, and you'll actually get your first month free by using the code in the description. So I want to jump right into it and talk about this document because I really think this document highlights something very important in terms of the difference of Ripple, Bitcoin, XRP, and a lot of the other cryptocurrencies out there, and how the Federal Reserve was paying attention to this as early as 2014. And guys, as you can see, this is no fake document. This is specifically from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. I actually did some research earlier, found this guy who wrote the article, was able to make sure that he did in fact work for the Fed. So this is a Federal Reserve document specifically talking about Ripple. Now, I want to start off and go to the first thing, and I believe one of the most important things, and that is specifically talking about what is going to be a long-term solution in the cryptocurrency space when it comes to these different decentralized networks. One of the most important things to understand is that governments do not want to lose access over money. What does this mean? Well, the United States dollar is critical to the United States. The United States does not want to sacrifice control of the monetary system to something that is going to disrupt the US dollar. What can you think of that's trying to do that right now? Well, it's obviously always been Bitcoin, right? One of the ethoses of Bitcoin, one of the first things that Bitcoiners set out to do was to disrupt the monetary system to essentially replace the dollar with Bitcoin. Now, there's a lot of reasons I think that's unrealistic that I'm not going to get into in this video. Bitcoin being slow and expensive, Bitcoin being non-programmable, Bitcoin not being able to be sanctioned or not being able to be drawn back on. All of these things are all reasons why it's so unrealistic any government would ever adopt Bitcoin as the native currency for the country. But there are also reasons why a government would look at something like Bitcoin as a threat to the system. If Bitcoin was ultimately to surpass USD, which I don't think would happen, that would be a massive problem for the government's control of the underlying nation. So it totally makes sense that governments would want to disincentivize people from using Bitcoin as a currency. And you're probably wondering, how does that differentiate from XRP? Why would they not want to differentiate from people of using XRP as a currency? Don't worry, we're going to talk about that, but I want to read this slide specifically because I think this is going to go to something extremely important. In the United States, the IRS has recently ruled that for tax purposes, Bitcoins will be treated as property and not currency. i.e., when you buy, sell Bitcoins, you must report resulting capital gains and losses. Compliance means added record-keeping costs. The effect of this and similar rulings serve to diminish the effectiveness of Bitcoins as currency. So right here, they're essentially using capital gains taxes on Bitcoin to discourage people from using it as a currency. But then after that, it says Ripple a winner. So that begs a very interesting question. If you used XRP as a currency, right, you would still have the capital gains implications of XRP. So why would Ripple be a winner here? Obviously, what governments are trying to do at a high level is use the tax system to make Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies ineffective as a currency. Because if whenever you wanted to buy something, not only did you have to pay sales tax, but you also had to pay a capital gains tax, that's not a very good currency. So the governments are using tax systems to disincentivize things like Bitcoin and XRP being used as currencies. So why would Ripple be a winner here? Well, it comes down to one of the biggest misconceptions of what XRP is. For a long time, Ripple, the company, used XRP as a payments token. And because of that, a lot of people look at XRP as a payments token, but it's really not. It's a liquidity token. It's a bridge currency. It's infinitely scalable, decentralized, and neutral liquidity. It's really not meant for payments. It doesn't make sense to use volatile currencies for payments. One, as you can see, governments are just going to disincentivize it with capital gains tax, and there's not really much we can do to get around that. But more importantly, the average Joe is never going to be able to figure out how to pay for things in a volatile currency. It's simply too confusing. There is no doubt in my mind that the future currency of the United States is going to be pegged at $1. And what Ripple has acknowledged since day one is that is not going to change. That is why they positioned XRP as a liquidity source rather than a payment token. What does this mean? Well, as you probably know, since the beginning, the point of XRP was to go from currency A to currency B and use XRP as a neutral liquidity in the middle to facilitate that transfer. In that transfer, XRP is only being bought and sold for less than 3 seconds. And because of that, there is almost no probability there would be a capital gains implication in the middle of that trade, which means XRP can still be used for its full intended purpose, for its full intended use case, without actually creating any capital gains events. Country A has their currency, they transform it into country B's currency while using XRP without XRP being able to move in price. This is why Ripple's strategy here is a long-term winner. The XRP is just being used as liquidity. It's just being used to transform one asset to another, which only takes 3 seconds. This means XRP is sitting in a position where it wouldn't have this capital gains implication. It's also not being used as a currency. It's just being used as liquidity. And therefore, governments do not have to disincentivize its use. At the end of the day, you're still using currency A and currency B on the other side, or currency B and currency A. There's no use of XRP as disrupting these currencies. Instead, XRP is being used as a medium or a facilitator to make these currencies better. And as many of you understand, this has always been Ripple's target since day one. They didn't want to disrupt the governments. They didn't want to tell these governments, hey, we're going to kill what you're doing. We're going to take over. We just want to make your systems better. And this is why the Federal Reserve is looking at systems like XRP and companies like Ripple and saying, hey, this is someone we can work with rather than trying to fight someone who's trying to tear them down. Now we look at what else they say, and it's also very interesting. They say on this page right here, whether central banks will adopt the technology or not. They said well-run central banks should welcome the emerging competition. There is room for beneficial coexistence. Almost exactly what we're talking about today. A politically independent Fed operating on an elastic currency supply with congressionally assigned mandates, i.e. price level stability, together with Ripple, a currency agnostic P2P payment system to facilitate low-cost payments. So right here is talking about what we have been talking about for a very long time now. The Federal Reserve working with Ripple to issue a currency on the XRP ledger that could be the transactional currency, all while XRP sits as the liquidity to facilitate the transactions. The Federal Reserve is never going to create this system. But what they're going to do is work with the private sector, companies like Ripple, who want to work with them, who want to see regulations continue to live in the United States, who want to see institutions move into the next era of the internet. They're going to work with institutions like that to build out the next generation payment systems. And guys, this was being talked about in 2014. Using XRP as liquidity, ultimately to issue currencies on these networks that these governments, institutions, and other players will be able to utilize for their infrastructure. All these different conservative institutions are not going to build out their own rails. They're going to utilize the rails built by forward-leaning institutions like Ripple, and because Ripple has been opening the doors for them to do this, they are going to be the company on these institutions' mind when it comes to actually building these things out. Guys, I find this so fascinating because when you really start to understand what is happening here, you start to realize that this is not something that is just new. This is not something we just found out about. And in fact, these institutions have been talking about things like this since 2014. I want to show you one other thing here because I thought this was fascinating and just goes to show that we really are in the right place. The evolution of money, a long tradition of new currencies competing with the old. Hundreds of local currencies exist in the US alone. This new wave is an extension of this idea, combining science of cryptology with the power of the internet. Partial list of Bitcoin competitors. Not going to go through that, but the most important aspect of this technology revolution is the threat of entry into the monetary and payment system. This will force traditional institutions to adapt or die. In 2014, the Federal Reserve understood that blockchain technology and cryptocurrency were going to completely revolutionize the payment system as we knew it. They are doing everything possible to slow things down, to hold on to power while they can. But the change is inevitable. What we are watching right now is the start of a brand new financial system. And since 2014, they have known Ripple was going to emerge a leader because Ripple was one of the few companies who wasn't trying to do this ground up. They were trying to do it top bottom. They built the rails, they built the technology, they have the asset to allow these financial institutions to compete in the next generation internet financial system era we're heading into. Ripple gave them the tools. Now Ripple is waiting for them to adopt it. And there is no doubt in my mind that since that time, Ripple has only become a more obvious choice to ultimately work with these institutions to transform their products. Guys, I hope this really helps you understand that a lot of what we're watching play out today has been baked in from the start. These financial institutions, these governments, these central authorities know exactly what Ripple is trying to do, and they understand that Ripple is critical to them ultimately surviving in the new systems we're heading into. Guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. It really does mean so much. And for now, Mickle out.